Well, welcome everyone to this session on the AERA Interactive Presentation Gallery and our opportunity to do a webinar that's a demonstration of this new offering that AERA is providing to those who present papers at our annual meeting and in the future at other activities. But we want to today focus on the annual meeting. We want to talk about those of you who had papers accepted at the 2020 annual meeting, who can start creating this opportunity almost as we speak or after we leave this webinar today. Several hundred of your colleagues have already done so. And this is really a special kind of invention and creation that will certainly be part of the motif of the 2021 annual meeting and into the future. But the most important part of this is that in addition to your paper, that may indeed be in our AERA online paper repository, which is an open access product, whether you choose to have your paper in that repository or not, and many thousand did this year. I think well over 5,000 did so. This is really an opportunity to take a presentation that you might have given, I don't want to say in the old days, but somewhat in the old days before this new opportunity to innovate technologically, either through a handout at a round table or a PowerPoint at a paper session or a poster at a poster session. This is an opportunity to create a presentation that is interactive, that can be narrated, where we will transcribe that narration so those who are more comfortable reading and at any size print or font can do so. And those who are listening will be able to play and replay and see the beauty of interacting around slides at your own pace. And also hear that overall narration that you would want to communicate to your colleagues about the work that has reached completion at the paper presentation stage, but is clearly part of your research work and your research program of work. And the gallery provides an opportunity not only to share that work, but to also communicate and interact. And the emphasis being on interaction. Interaction on chat times that you can schedule, interaction for virtual meetings that can be scheduled in whatever the motif, whether it's WebEx, whether it's Zoom, or whatever the way that you might prefer to schedule a meeting if you would like to do so. And also engage in Q&A. So it's not only an opportunity to connect with others, but it really is an opportunity that we're offering in a way to do these meetups that we all crave as work is in progress, not only to connect with others with similarly situated interests. Now, maybe those who don't even have similarly situated interests, but might be drawn to the topic or the title, and expand that network and that community of collaboration, virtual collaboration, and maybe in the future, very real collaboration by really this modality of a gallery that provides you and provides the research community worldwide as an open access product to have not just annual convenings or special conference and meeting convenings, but a way of networking and communicating and collaborating and sharing your work throughout the year. So this presentation and this webinar is a first foray, I suppose, to introduce this to you. We've talked about this in some of our town hall meetings, to introduce this to you and really show you how user-friendly it is, how terrific the opportunity is for our community, and that we hope this year and every year that we see this as a way of connecting, not to replace the place-based convenings or those informal opportunities that are so precious to us when we gather together, but as close as we can recreate that gathering together that cannot happen in real time as informally and as frequently as we might like. So we do have today the opportunity of hearing from our innovative inventor, if you will, of the product that we are collaborating on a very important transformation. But before we do, I want to say two things. I'm thrilled that so many of you have joined, and we hope that you are hooked. See this as the beginning of an interaction around how we can work together on this to make it what will be something special for the research community. And I want to both introduce Robert Smith, our Director of Meetings, and my long-term collaborator on thinking out of the box, although I suppose right now you might be looking at 4 rectangles. Tony Parles, who's our Director of Communications, is going to be both looking at the chat and the Q&A, and will be the voice, your voice today, asking the questions and framing the issues that might be most on your mind. So without further ado, let me turn it over to Robert and say how pleased I am, and I think we all are, that so many of you have joined, and we hope this is something of value to all of you in your work, and collectively of value to the education research community writ large. Robert?
Thank you, Felice. Thank you for joining us today. We're very excited to be able to roll this demonstration out for you. We're going to walk through a demonstration of this system that not only are we using for the 2020 accepted submissions, but also for 2021 and beyond. So this is just the start of a piece of software that we'll be using for many years. And I think it'll help everyone just see how it works and to hear from Rick. So we do have a little bit of an agenda. I want to just give you a sense of what we're going to be going over today. And we're going to go through the interactive gallery with Rick Podolsky. He's the CEO of iPoster. And we're going to walk through what the gallery looks like, logging into your account, navigating through the system, creating a presentation, how you can add narration that's 6 to 8 minutes, so you can literally have your voice be attached to this presentation. Other interactive chat options, whether it's a Zoom type environment or a platform of your choice, or a text chat option at a specific time, and then and then how to take that once you've created and post it. We're going to hold questions really till the end, because we may hopefully answer a lot of questions for you along the way, and then also have you come up with some new ones. And then at the end, we'll talk about what the timelines are, and then other opportunities as we move forward. There are fact sheets that we're going to be posting to the website, and along with examples, 12 or 14 examples of work that's already been completed by your colleagues. So that's where we are. I think with that, Felice, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I would just say that I saw quickly one posting, and then we'll turn it over to Rick, and that was, will the slides be posted ostensibly, the ones that Rick will be showing? And I suppose, of course, the answer is yes, those will be posted. But more than that, you will each be receiving, and those who have not joined the webinar, all of those who presented in any authorship position on a paper will be receiving the general information. The first author, not to privilege in any sense the first author, but just to have someone take the lead, will be receiving an invitation from iPoster with a whole training package. Now, when I say a whole training package, that is not to be off-putting. I am telling you, this is easier than making a PowerPoint, to say the least. You know, it's just, it's really a kind of it's really a fun activity. And so there's training material, and there's contacts that those who are involved in creating an iPoster will have readily available, and you will be receiving that also by email with a password and a login. And we actually hope to have some of the voices of those who've already done it, which is probably the best way, the best authentication of what I've just said, that it's a really kind of a really user-friendly way of communicating. Those will all be kind of post-webinar materials for you that will, I think, make this a real user-friendly thing to do. And I think from the larger community, a great opportunity for you and all of our colleagues who would like to connect with your work. So with that, I think Robert and I will now fade into his virtual setting of my real live living room. And we welcome Rick from across the Atlantic. We could not have found a more collegial and congenial collaborator and creative thinker to take kind of dreams and make them a reality. So Rick, take it away.
Thank you very much, Felice. Thanks, Robert. Thanks, everybody. It's really a pleasure and tremendously exciting to be able to work with an organization like AERA. We feel really privileged about this, and look forward to working with you all, providing you all with support, everything you need to be able to create a really great interactive presentation. So as Felice mentioned, I'm over in Northern Europe. I'm up in Stockholm right now, and I'm an expat New Yorker, but I'm here in Stockholm. So to preserve bandwidth and the long distance that all of these images have to travel to get to you, I'm going to turn off my screen right now and share a screen. I'll do the share first. And now I'm going to say goodbye to you all, but my voice will remain as we go through this, this presentation. So off with the video and on with the presentation. What you're looking at right now, and I hope you are all seeing it, is what we call the gallery screen. This is the interactive presentation gallery. And this is what the gallery will look like when you're all done with your interactive presentations. They'll all be here. Your attendees and colleagues will be able to scroll through the content, look at all the posters, click on them to explore. I want to show you a few of the ones that have been currently created, just to give you an idea of what can be done, and then go back and show you how it's created. So I'm going to start at the end, kind of, and then end at the beginning. What you'll see is that when you click on these posters, they'll open up. Here's a poster that was created now for the conference. You'll see that there are a number of different templates that you can choose from. The big difference between an interactive presentation and what you may have done earlier with paper posters or with PDFs or any other kind of presentation is that there's more to it than what you see here. When you click on a content box, it'll open up. There's no limit to the amount of content that you can add, either text or images or multimedia. When you click on images, they'll expand. So I encourage you to use images that are as large as possible so that when clicked upon, they'll fill the screen as much as possible. Scrolling back up in this box, you can see that one of the multimedia formats you can enter are videos, and you can view the videos full screen.
So, la manera en que nosotros estamos investigando es una manera que yo no pensé, que yo cuando apenas comencé me dijiste que
another video, many more videos. Again, there's no limit to the amount of multimedia content you can add.
Kia normal to bien.
Here's a slideshow. You can import images from any kind of image. JPEGs, PNGs, and GIFs are the main image formats. You can click through the slideshow like this. You can do live presentations this way. I should say that from the beginning, that you can't load up PDFs or PowerPoint presentations, but what you can do is you can export those images to JPEGs and PNGs and use them within the poster itself. So what a lot of people do when running slideshows like this is they might just use images, load up the images independently, or if they have a PowerPoint presentation, for example, you can make screenshots, convert to JPEGs, and then load them up this way. And I'll of course show you how you create all of this. One of the most important parts of an interactive presentation, especially considering that these are going to be online for the foreseeable future, is that we have a narration function. Again, I will show you how to do it, but it'll appear down here. Once you've recorded and loaded your narration, your visitors will click on it.
Hi, bienvenida. Tendo. My name is Dr. Lori Santamaria. Welcome to our presentation, Sustainable Mixteco Indígena Research, Methodology toward Equal Status Stakeholder and Indigenous Collaboration.
I'll just pause it here. What you can do when you do your narration is that you can either take people through your interactive presentation, because while you're listening to the presentation, your narration, your visitors will be able to open the content boxes and follow your instructions, your narrations, your descriptions.
I work with a team comprised of Adriana Diego, Liliana Manriquez, Doña Berta Salazar, Claudia Lozano, Luisa León Salazar, and Sylvia Garcia.
Another thing that's nice about the narration function is the ability to add more context, to add a framing to your research, why you're doing it, using descriptions that maybe aren't contained in the texts themselves, but that give people a broader idea of what you're after. So you can do it either both ways or one way or the other. A very straightforward presentation, content box by content box of your research, or more of a broad explanation of what you're doing. Before I move on from this poster, you'll see that there are a whole bunch of buttons down here. These are buttons that you can add in addition to the content boxes that you see here. So here's author information. You can, again here, load up as much multimedia as you like. These little green indications here mean that they're external links. So you can link to other websites, other web pages, where there's more information to learn about. And let me just make some room over here. So this is author information. And again, you can do it about your team, your institution, or yourself. And over here, we've got disclosures. There were no disclosures there. I should say that a lot of these posters in the gallery that we're looking at aren't complete yet. Authors have put them up on the gallery, but they're still working on it. So that'll be the same for you. The posters are living documents, as Felice mentioned. You can keep on working on them through the end of this period, for the rest of the fall into the winter. These are living documents and updated as often as you like. Here's an abstract. Here are references. And here is a very simple way of communicating. It's very asynchronous. Your visitors, the attendees, will be able to send messages to you if they would like to find more information. They'll just put in their name, their email address in the message. Your email address will not be revealed. Being located in the EU, we're under the rules and regulations of the GDPR, which are very strict in terms of what kind of information can be displayed on a presentation like this. So they won't see your email address, but it's up to you to respond and establish a relationship this way. Moving on to some other iPosters, some other ways of looking at things. This is an author who has decided to do very granular narrations within the content boxes. So that's the other way that you can approach it. And I would recommend actually both. Do a general narration describing your research, framing it, giving it a broader context, and then you can go in and you can do narrations like this.
The Singapore case, the increasing visibility of Quest School Library. Quest School Library was renovated in 2016 with the intention to attract students to reading through the school library space, book.
So that's another way. And you can add actually other kinds of audio files, as you'll see, into your content boxes. If you'd like to do audio interviews, that's fine to do. Anything on audio, anything on video. And moving on, let's take a look at, let me see if we've got, right, here's another poster that I think is really nice, another narration.
Our virtual presentation is titled Fostering an Intergenerational Community of Co-Learners of Environmental Sustainability, a Case of the Leafy Project. In this study, we took a cultural historical approach to thinking about the role of educational activity in critically responding to the Anthropocene, or in other words, how people have made an increasing impact.
Some really nice stuff. Here is another example of a video.
He did so well earlier last week. Like, so I know he has it in him.
I agree. I think it's something outside of the school that he's really, really battling with.
Like if you were in the back.
Yeah, exactly. Jennifer's the same.
So our on-track data meetings.
And again, lots of references. So large images, make them as big as possible, loading up JPEGs, PNGs, GIF files, videos for documentation, videos for interviews, videos for doing a presentation of yourself if you like, and then sound files, primarily a narration that explains the context and the details of your research, and then any kind of audio files you would like to use within the poster itself. So how do you do all of this? Let's go over here, and you'll be getting, and many of you have already gotten a letter of invitation in which you've got details about the interactive presentations and also a login information that'll take you to a page, the login page here. You'll enter your email address and your password, and you will come into the welcome page. We have a lot of author support, a lot of technical support. You'll find the links on your letter of invitation. You'll also find it here, and you'll also find it on the templates themselves. So we have tutorials, we have a quick guide, we have FAQs, we have privacy information as required by the GDPR. If you're creating more than one poster, the next step would be to choose the presentation that you want to begin with. So again, with more than one poster, you'll see the names, the name of your poster, the title, and the abstract ID. You'll click on the one you want to start with, and you'll come up to the template chooser. If you're only doing one poster, then you would come right to the template chooser here. We have 9 different templates going from 1 content box to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 content boxes. Choose the one that just works with the way you've conceived of your presentation. They all include the same multimedia capabilities. It's just a question of how you want to lead your visitors through your research. 2 of them have slideshow possibilities, and that's this one with 6 content boxes and this one with 7. So I'm going to use one of these so that I can show you everything you can do with a poster. But again, if you have no need for any kind of slideshow, choose whichever other one you might want to do. You choose the poster and your template's going to open. I'm going to move this off to the side a bit so that I can bring some content up to show you how you can create content for the poster, for the interactive presentation, I should say. So this is the template. We'll be preloading your poster title, but you can add the names here of your co-authors. I'm just going to type in a bunch of loose letters here just to move things along. Here you can type in the name of your institution or your institutions if you're a number of people working on the same poster. Here's where you type in the titles of your content boxes. Actually, that would probably be introduction, and we'll have something on methods. Again, you can, whatever you want to call your content boxes, it's totally up to you. At any time you can decide that you want to add a little design to your iPoster. So up here we have design presentation. You can do simple things like add a background color. You can add a gradient color. You can add some color in the side boxes here. You can add some color in the title boxes. You can change the title fonts. So if you don't want if you would like a nice serif font, you can add it there. You can also change the text color. And I'm not particularly fond of what I'm doing right now. So what you can also do is just reset to default. You can change things, of course, but you can go back to default mode, and you can also insert an image, have an image background. All of the image work is drag and drop. So I have a bunch of images here in this folder, and I will just drag an image over here, drop it into the image box, and we have a background image. iPosters are high definition posters. They have a width of 1,920 pixels and a height of 1080. It's called 1920 by 1080. So you want to load that size image up if you want to fill the background image. And you'll see that here. I'll just remove this, open it up again. Down here are instructions about that you can load up PNGs, GIFs, and JPEGs, and this is the format. So we try and have information on just about everything you might want to know here in the on the posters and in the templates. So I'll reload that image. I kind of like, it's the Milky Way, kind of nice thing to look at. So we have a background image, and now we're going to see how we load content. To get content into this content box, you click here, the box opens, you'll see that there's a pretty standard editing toolbar up here. You can, if you'd like, add your text just on the fly like this, but I'm sure that most of you, as everybody who creates an iPoster, is going to be copying and pasting from all manner of documents, from PDFs, from PowerPoints, from Word documents, perhaps from other websites. So I've got some material here, a little junk text. I'll copy it, and you just paste it in, and you've got your text there. As I mentioned, there's no limit to the amount of content that you can load into an iPoster. So as soon as the content exceeds the physical size of the box here, it becomes a scrolling box. So you don't have to worry about adding anything less than what you think is important for you to present your research with the detail that it deserves. In terms of formatting, it's very straightforward. You mark a text, you make it bold or italic, you can add a color, you can change the fonts, and you can change the size, although we have a lower limit to the size. many people who are used to doing paper posters or PowerPoint presentations will resort to the smallest possible font size in order to get as much content as possible into the presentation. With an interactive presentation, you don't have to worry about that because it scrolls. So we set a lower limit of 10 points. We recommend that 10 to 12 points be used for captions. 14 points is the default. It's what you're seeing down here. And we recommend that you don't change that. That'll work on a mobile phone. That'll work on a large screen. And I can add here that you can view an iPoster on any internet connected device with a browser. So it could be a mobile phone, it could be a tablet, laptop, or a projection somewhere. Stick with the 14 unless you want to make it a little larger, but you can go up in size for subtitles, for emphasis. Up here we've got our multimedia tools, insert image, insert video, insert audio file. And the way you do that is you put your cursor where you want the file to be. Let's start with an image. And I'll go back to my image folder here. Whoops. And let me go down and find an image. And you just drag and drop the image in here, and you've got your image in place. We'll do another one. If you're going to be using diagrams, charts, graphs, any kind of graphic material, we recommend that you export it from whatever program you've created it in. You can't create those things here. This is just for presentation. You export it as a PNG or a JPEG and make it as large as possible. Don't be afraid of having to reduce the size to fit into these content boxes. The system will automatically size it down to be shown here, but then when you show it during the presentation, as you saw earlier, make them as big as possible so that when you click on them, when your audience clicks on them, they'll expand. So here's an example of just taking a graph that's been turned into an image. And actually, let's take a bar chart here. Again, drag and drop, put it in, and it'll be there. What you're doing is you're loading everything up onto our server now, and the server is streaming back. So you can edit this from any machine. You don't have to be on the one at home. All you need to do is have your login information. You can go to any computer, log in, and continue to work on it. Another format that you can use, if it would be useful, is GIF. And I'll just give you an example of that. Again, drag and drop it in, and we now have a GIF there. So that's the image work. Let's open another box here and add a little more text again. And this time, let's work on the videos. Our recommended video platforms are either YouTube or Vimeo. They have streaming servers everywhere. They can transfer any kind of format to a viewable format. For those of you who've not loaded up a video to either of those platforms, we have a tutorial about how to do it. Also a tutorial about how to restrict access to your video. So if you don't want it to be discoverable on either of those platforms, there's a really easy way to do it. To load a video, you click on the Load Video button here, and I just happen to have some videos here. So let me add that. Here's an interview. So now we've got a video there, and we talked about sound files. There's two types of sound files. You saw the one where the sound file is within the content box itself. It can be a narration, it can be an interview. A lot of times in healthcare and education, in some fields, it's more comfortable for people to be interviewed with a sound interview rather than a video interview because of privacy concerns, discomfort with having a camera on. So you can use this to load any kind of audio file. You click here, and I will just add a narration. This is a narration that I did, so you'll be hearing my voice again recorded, but now we've got a narration in there, and that will also, no limit on the numbers of narrations that you can have. Moving over here, external links. I showed you some posters that had links to external websites. You mark the text or the image that you want to link to, click on the button, capture the URL of the site that you want. Here's a CDC data set. So you just copy that, you paste it in here, and now we've got a link there. You might want to make it bold and add a color so that it stands out. So we have a link. And the main toolbar here on the right, you can open and close to make it easier for you to work on the whole poster. So I'm just going to open it a bit here. This is a box where you can decide, do you want to have a slideshow or do you want it to be a content box like all of the others? So if you just want an additional text field, then you click on that and you'll see it's the same functionality as everything else here. Here's your editor. If, however, you'd like to do a slideshow and you change your mind, you've already done the text choice here. Over here, you've got template settings. So you click here, reset slideshow box. Now it goes back to the image slider, and I'll open it up. You click on this, and now you can load up images. Again, JPEGs or PNGs. If you have material in other formats, it's easy to transfer them to either of those file formats. You click on the upload button, and I'll just upload a few images here so you can see how the slideshow works. So we've got an image there, and now upload another one. And I'll just add a third one. Sorry for the delay here. This is one of the downsides of making a presentation from an island outside of Stockholm. Let's see if we can get this to load up. It is taking some time here. Let's see if we can get this to happen. Oh. My apologies for this. In the meantime, I can answer a quick question while we're waiting for this to load and hoping that it will load quickly. Heidi Andrade asked if you start out with one template, then decide that you would prefer another. Would the work in the first template be transferred to the next? You've got to do that manually. So you save your texts and you'll see that your images are automatically saved. And then you just add another template to that. Let me see if, I'm really sorry about this.
I also, I could chime in. There was one, I thought, a question on presenting in multiple languages, and of course the narration could be in any language. What we are asking is that at least half be the voice be in English, and half can be an alternative language. And the same would be were there to be a written product uploaded. And that has been what we've been encouraging at the annual meeting. I think there was a second a question also that I spotted as it popped up. Tony might see some others around, well, this looks great, folks, but what does Rick and Felice have to say about use? And we haven't gone live yet. We are, you all are in our first stages of innovation. But I can say from our online paper repository, we moved from about 2,000 papers in the beginning to over 5,000 now. This will have a unique citation. The papers have a DOI, and we expect to cultivate use. For those of you, for example, who schedule a virtual meetup, which will run until the end of December, we'll actually have a program that we promote that says, you know, these are available. And so just as over 200 of you started with us today, you know, we expect to cultivate an environment of communication and collaboration.
Additionally, if you have a video that's in let us say in a different language, you can, as you do need to run it through Vimeo or YouTube, you can load it up to YouTube and then use their AI to translate it into English for you.
Right.
So that is an option, and when you go to upload it to YouTube, there's an option for you to do that, to add closed captioning. So that answers one of the other questions we had.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both have closed captioning.
I'll turn it back to Rick, but there was something that I meant to say when I said, in the beginning, when I said that, well, someone has to own it, so the first author for a multiply authored paper will get that invitation. But that first author, for example, who might be less interested in experimenting in this motif, can have the second author or anybody else. You can decide who's going to create this on behalf of a multiple author team, and then you just switch the owner, so that if Robert and I wrote a paper and he was at the leading edge, meaning the first author, but I just am fascinated by the technology, he could just reassign it to me. So anyone can actually do it, and we're informing all authors, but the initial password and login will go to the first author. If you are not the first author, encourage your first authors to do it in multiply authored pieces, or say, hey, I'll do it for the group. And of course you can share it as it's in development. Rick?
Yep. I'm sorry, Robert, go on.
No, I think that sounds like Tony.
This is Tony. I just wanted to make the point that first authors last received an email from AERA during the week of August 31st with a personalized link to create their presentation. We will be following up with another email to first authors with that individualized link.
Right, this week, and it'll come from iPoster. A preliminary reminder will come from us to all authors, but then you will be receiving the password and the information from iPoster within, before Friday, potentially Thursday.
Yes.
Depending upon your time zone.
That's true. We crossed the international date line. We'll see what happens. My apologies for the long wait here. What I just wanted to show you was that when creating the slideshow, you can move the slides around, so you can change the order of the slides in the content box down here. So looking at what we call the main toolbar here, here's the other narration tool. This is the tool which will place the narration button at the bottom of the poster. And this is probably the most important, the important one for your presentation. It's the same method. You open the box and you just drag and drop your narration. Most people are doing their narrations on their mobile phones. We recommend using a microphone for the best quality, We recommend that you find a quiet place with soft things in the room so there aren't any hard surfaces. Avoid busy street corners, and perhaps write a script. Listen to your narration. You might want to do a few takes and then load it up into the poster by just dragging it here and dropping it here. And you'll see that a narration button has appeared on the poster itself. You won't see it in the template. I'm going to get into the preview function in a little bit. One of the posters I showed you had author information, and that's what you do with this button. So when you click on these buttons, this is when you add the buttons at the bottom of the poster itself. So here I can add author information. Again, you've got all the multimedia possibilities here. So I can add some text and images, sound files. Here's the abstract. Your abstract will be preloaded, but you can go in and you can edit it and add some multimedia functionality there. Disclosures, if you would like to thank your funders, or if you feel that you need to tell us where your funding came from, you would add that there. References, if you need an extra box for references that there aren't enough here, then this is the button to use. So you add your references over here. And if you want to add a link to the references, same thing, you would just use the link button here and add the link there. And now we're going to come to what Felice and Robert were talking about in terms of synchronous communication. We have a chat and we have a live session. The chat is a classic text chat. You will, your visitors will text their questions and you will text your answers. You choose the date and time here. You use the 24-hour clock. So 5:30 in the afternoon would be 17:30 to 6:30 would be 18:30. And this allows the date and time to display properly wherever in the world you are. It'll be translated into the appropriate time format anywhere in the world in the appropriate time zone. And here's where you add your date. We'll make it tomorrow. Here you save your settings. And there we go. So we look back in the chat now, everything's there. There's a little tutorial, a text tutorial here on how it works. So you'll find out everything you need to know about that here. The one thing you've got to think about is that you enter the time is displayed on the gallery screen under the thumbnail of your poster with the start and the end time. However, it's not going to start automatically. You've got to go into your template, open it up, open up the control panel, and then you start the chat. That's very important. The end time really doesn't matter. It's not going to cut you off, just that the system requires an end time, and it gives the attendees a chance to understand how long they need to expect for your interactive presentation. But should things be going well, you're free to sit there and chat as long as you want. There's no limit on that. And here you can add a message. The default message is the chat room will open 10 minutes before the start. That's up to you. If you missed the chat but would like to contact me, please use the contact author button at the bottom of my iPoster. And then you can add anything else or change this if you'd like. You can only set up one chat at a time, but once that chat's done, you can set up a new chat. And many authors who plan to chat a lot will include that here, that stay tuned, I'll be setting up a new chat in whatever time frame that they want. So that's the chat. And then we have what we call the live session. It's just like the chat in terms of setup, but here you're setting up your own online meeting, a video meeting. It could be Zoom, it could be WebEx, could be Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, GoToWebinar, any web-based meeting service will work in this. All you're doing is, again, you're setting up your time, and I'll just run at the same time as before, 18:30, and set up the day. And then here is where you set up the URL. So wherever it is, let's just say Zoom and use it generically. You set up a meeting in Zoom, you copy the URL and you paste it in here. If you want, you can also add a password to the session. And this too, these times will appear below your thumbnail, and there'll be a link to get to enter the Zoom room. Most of these services have free offerings, and it's usually, the limits are somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour, up to 100 participants. That's totally free. So again, we encourage you to do it, either the chat or the live session. Depends upon how you feel about being live. Some people are going to be more comfortable using the chat, and others are just going to feel great about being able to have a meeting like this and share their research that way. Up here again, we have a How It Works button using the live session tool, and we have a lot of these kinds of tutorials and information. Some of the other buttons here, image gallery. If we take a look here, you'll see that these are the images that I sent out. I loaded the Milky Way background twice. There's the GIF. So the image gallery is good for a number of reasons. One is that you may have a different way of working. The way I usually do an iPoster is I bring in the images as I go along. I'll start working in a content box. I'll add some text. I'll import an image like I did in my demonstration so far. But there are others who like to just load up all of their images. They know the images that they want to have in their presentations. So they'll load it using the upload button here. They'll load it all into the image gallery. And let me add an image that has not been here before. I'll just add this image. It's called Fieldwork. And there's that image in the image gallery now. If I'm loading all my images and then creating my content, what would happen is I want to add an image here. I go to the insert image, click here on the image gallery, and here's that image. So I can load the images this way and just add them directly from the image gallery. It's a question of how you would like to work. Back to the question about if I've started working on an iPoster and I decide that, you know, I would like an extra content box here, or I've got too many content boxes. I want a smaller, fewer boxes here. You delete your poster, and when you click on the delete poster, you get this instruction. If you delete your template in order to start over with a new template, all of your content will be lost. Be sure to copy all the content before deleting, and that's all of your content other than the images themselves. So the images will always be in the image gallery. Copy your texts into another document, could be a plain text editor, and then I'm not going to do it now, but if I did, actually, I can show you here, because these are, I logged in here as a multi-poster maker, a multi-interactive presentation maker. So here's where I can select the templates for my next presentation. So should you decide you want to delete and start over, you would be returned to the template chooser, and here you would choose a template either with with fewer or more posters, and then copy and paste your text back in, go to the image gallery and retrieve your images. And here you can toggle back and forth between the posters that you've made, or you can work on a number of posters simultaneously. So you can toggle back and forth over here. Here's our support. We've got the quick guide again, the FAQs, the cases. These are just examples of posters that we really think are nice to look at and might inspire, and our tutorials. If you're still having trouble after having looked at the FAQs to solve your problems and check the quick guide, you can contact our support desk here. You'll also get a link to our support desk on the letter of invitation. So you just click here and you fill in whatever problem you want, send it off to us, and we will respond as quickly as possible. It's very important for us that you have flow. The template settings we looked at, that's to change the way the content box works. Print poster. This will allow you to print to PDF and needs a little explanation. If we go back here and look at one of the, well, actually we can look at this poster here. If you were to do a PDF of this poster to save, a PDF is a snapshot of the surface. So a standard PDF is not going to capture any of the content here that's below the scroll line. So none of this down here would be in a standard PDF. So if you want to have a hard copy, if you will, of an iPoster, what it's going to happen is it's going to turn it into a document. So when you click here, you're going to see the poster. Chat field just popped up. You'll see the poster itself, and here you'll see all of the content. What's happening is that the system is extracting all of the content from all of the content boxes and laying it out in document form. So that'll give you a hard copy. However, your poster is going to be up for a long, long time. So you don't have to worry about losing the content. Your gallery and the gallery screen and the posters are going to be always available for you. So here we go. Back here, that's the print poster function. Right now, if I printed it, I wouldn't have that much content, of course, because I haven't really started working on it yet. Share poster does just what it says. Here is the link to the poster. You can see it up here also. An iPoster is an HTML5 web page. This is the unique identifier to the poster. If any of you are members of ORCID or have DOIs, you can use this unique identifier as a way of linking your poster to them. And you just copy that and you can send it off to your co-workers, your co-authors, to anyone you want. You can also share it on Twitter or on Facebook. And then we come to My Settings. This is a way for you to control some of the communication and the display of your iPoster. The first setting is contact information. The default mail for the contact author button, from which you'll receive all of the contact author requests, is the mail with which you've registered. If you want to use another mail address for some reason, you can put that mail address here. All of the contact requests will be sent to that mail address, but you'll be still receiving all of the formal information from us and from everyone else through the mail address with which you've registered. Choose Publishing Rules gives you an opportunity to control the display of the poster on the gallery screen. The most frequent use is that an author will be publishing their research in a journal, and the journal requires the rights of first publication. And some journals would consider publishing your iPoster, your interactive presentation on the gallery screen as first publication. So what you can do here is that you can, by clicking no, it will not be displayed on the gallery screen. You won't break the contract of your publisher. You can wait until the publisher has published it, and then you can go back in and place it back on the, make it accessible on the gallery screen again. And then the other interesting one here is statistics. Here you can see how many online views, how many people shared, wanted to share your poster, and how many contact requests you got. You'll be getting the contact author through your email, but we found that sometimes authors will accidentally delete their emails. So here are all of them with the name and the email address of the sender and the message that was sent. Moving down here, I'll show you preview in a while. This is the publish button. Once you publish your poster, it will be on the gallery. And once the gallery goes live, it will be seen on the gallery itself. So don't publish it until you feel that you're comfortable with it. As soon as we tell you that the gallery is live, then you might want to consider not publishing until you're ready. However, even after publishing and looking at these posters here on the gallery, as you can see, there are a number of them that are still have a ways to go. You can keep on working on your poster even after it's published. And that's back to it being a living document. You can add content, you can do whatever you want. What we use publishing for mainly, beyond it being on the gallery itself, is it gives us a chance to scrub the databases, if you will. You and all the other authors will be adding lots of content from PDFs, from other websites. There's always a small chance that some bad code, some bad formatting sneaks in. So we're constantly searching through the galleries to eliminate any code like that. And it makes it easier for us if everything is up on the gallery. Just a couple of other small things before I open things up for questions. Up here in the upper left, you can add the logo of your institution. So here again, it's just drag and drop. And we've got a logo up here. You can add additional logos if your co-authors are working in other institutions. You just drag and drop them here. A little trick to load a poster, you click on the upload logo here. To a poster, to load a logo, you click on the logo button here. If you want to remove one of these, you click on this. So that takes it away. And this allows you to put it back, to put up the logo. So we've got a couple of logos here. Here you can load up an image of yourself and your co-authors. So you just drag and drop the images here and they'll load up here. Same thing here, click here to load and drag and drop it on and click here once more. I only have 3 images, so that's the end of this. And now we've got these logos up here. Here, again, you can toggle between your posters. And here's some deadline information. Actually, this can be any kind of information that we might want to give you. Keep an eye on this. Actually, I can see that this needs to be changed. This was the original publishing date, so we will make sure that that's changed before we do it. And then the publishing button itself, when you click on it, you'll get a congratulatory note, and again with a message that you can keep on working with your poster. So that's the way that works. Let's see if I've got enough bandwidth to show the preview here. So it'll probably take a couple of seconds before it'll appear. And the previews for a number is good for a number of purposes. Obviously, it's a place to check your work to make sure that everything is working the way you had planned. So here's, we can make sure that the images are expanding. Again, load big images. The GIF is GIFing. The graph is expanding as one had hoped. Here's a the video. And
hi, I'm Pauline Voss, a professor emeritus at the University of Minnesota. I'm going to talk about ambiguous loss.
Here's a slideshow. You can pause it and use it as an oral presentation, or just allow your visitors to take a look at it. And then here are all the buttons that were added. Here's the chat button. And if you missed the chat and all the standard material there, here's the narration.
If you've ever used a computer to create a document or a presentation, you'll find it easy to create.
And then all of the other buttons that we've added. So that's about it. I think that I can open up the floor to discussions. I'll stop my share right now, and Felice and Robert will probably want to come in, and we'll field any questions you might have.
I think without further ado, Tony, what do you think?
Sure. So we have a question about whether a group of authors could work on a poster synchronously.
Good question. No, we don't have real-time collaboration. That'll be coming next year. But right now, you can only have one author in at a time. It'd be up to the main author to manage that, to make sure that who's ever in there first is logged out. What a lot of teams will do is that they'll use that share iPoster button, so that the team, if they want to be working together, will all have basically the preview of the poster up. One of them is working, making saves. The others will refresh the screen, comment on it. The first author will say, okay, I'm going to get out. Tony, why don't you take over? First author logs out, Tony logs in. But it needs to be coordinated. It's not as smooth as we want it to be with real-time collaboration. But that's basically the way that you would do that.
And of course, with the audio files, if you did the overall narration, let's say of the whole presentation of, let's say, 6 to probably 8 minutes max, you can do that together, create a single file and then upload it or share it in 2 pieces. I mean, that can work, but it's the current workspace allows for one driver at a time.
Yeah, just expanding on what you just mentioned, Felice, in a couple of instances, some teams have done discussions that they've used the narration button as a way of having a group presentation live, where they discuss the poster, comment on what each other have said, and it's just a really nice experience. It feels really live to have that. So that's another option if you have a team.
Okay, so someone else has asked whether a presentation could be removed after it's been published, if the authors decide to do so.
Yeah, so there's 2 ways to do that. One is to remove it using that display button that I showed you earlier. The under My Settings, here, choose publishing rules, just no. It's no longer displayed on the gallery screen, but the authors can still share it and work on it. So that's the easiest way to do that. Yeah, if you want the poster totally.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, please. No, if you want to totally delete the poster, there's the delete button, which is very final, of course.
But we do view this as a as a gallery that we're creating as a product. So it's not like your website. I mean, once we hit our deadline, that will be all that it will be for 2020. And once we publish it, it is not published as a publication, but we're not expecting these pieces to come up and down because we're offering it as a convening environment any more than if you were presenting at a place-based meeting. You can't say, whoops, I wish I hadn't been there. I suppose this gives you a long runway to decide what you would want to share. But, you know, once you do that, that's out there in our shareable environment. I will say, though, that there's plenty of latitude, as is true with the online paper repository. If you do subsequent papers or a final publication, you can add that information about, you know, about this paper and its, I'll say, derivative or final products in that knowledge production. And that's true on the online paper repository. If you're in the online paper repository, you can go back in and that's a paper. If you've ended up publishing it as 2 or 3 papers or a book or 1 paper, you'll be able to add that as well. And we're going to have the presentations, for those of you who are already in the online paper repository, they will connect to each other. So the background paper that motivates the presentation and vice versa will link through the gallery and through the repository if you have a paper. I just don't want to kind of create this image that it's like your own personal website. I mean, we're offering something that if someone has experienced it, we don't want someone to say to 2 or 3 other colleagues, hey, why don't you go and look at this great presentation, and then it's kind of disappeared. So I'm not saying we would never remove it, but once it's out and published, we'd have to have a real compelling reason about as we might with the retraction of an article, for example.
So Felice, a couple people have asked when will the gallery and the online repository both go live?
I think we're thinking that this would go live on because of the other announcements with respect to 2021 submissions. I think we say November 2nd, and it will run forever. I mean, it's forever. Meaning where I suppose, unlike some other uses of similar products that say, okay, this is available for, let's say, 2 weeks after an annual meeting, we really see this as a new way of convening and sharing at the early versioning stages of knowledge production, sort of in a way in perpetuity. But at least at the outset, in terms of collective sharing and interacting, we are planning to have the opportunity for authors, and any authors can join that, engage in the chat or a virtual convening for essentially 2 months through the end of the calendar year. Now, if we're seeing greater interest on the part of our authors, there's no reason to stop dead in the tracks, but we also knowing that we'd like authors to participate in this collective activity, that we didn't just want to open that up forever. So we will have and I think initially, and it still may be the case, that you can schedule only 1 chat at a time, but if you find it productive and you've had one scheduled for November 20th and you want to do another one December 10th, you can do that. And similarly with a virtual Zoom-like product, you can schedule one, and then, like we're doing another one next Tuesday on this, come back again if you'd like to hear it. The recordings will also be available, but if you want that dynamic of live interaction, you can schedule one of those. But we want to be really kind of cautious to do something, not cautious, but to be kind of out there with innovative convening opportunities without either authors or even attendees thinking that if it's not used, it means that it wasn't of value. So we wanted to create the buzz when when Buzz, kind of makes good sense.
Okay, a few people have, a few first authors have noted that they never received an email with a personalized link to create a presentation. So they want to know if there's an email, if there's someone they can email in order to get the link.
So wait for the next one. What happened when we sent the first two is that it went to all, the database that ported over from All Academic went to all paper submissions, but not papers, which had been our intent, but life was a little busy between May and when we realized that the database that ported over did not include the papers given in paper sessions. So if you're in that class, don't worry yet. You're gonna get a password and a login information this week, and then we will have on our website information about what happens if you didn't get it. And I think, and I posted, they're pretty good at the safety net of it not being caught in spam filters, but we'll have another vehicle for you to get in, and maybe Robert and Rick know more about the technicality of how that's operating than I would. Rick?
Yeah, just let me throw in there that if after, let's say, a day after the date that the invitations have been sent out, and you'll be informed about that. Well, let's say by the end of this week, if everything goes as planned, and you don't have it, please check your spam folders, your junk mail folders. And if you're at an institution that might have a firewall, be highly protective of its space, check with your IT department and see if we can get that to be that our URL is allowed through the firewall.
I want to answer Bill Firestone's question about the duration. We were thinking that we would have the scheduler essentially run from November 2nd for through the end of the calendar year. Now, I recognize that with across many cultures, then one is hitting holiday time, and it might be that when we announce it'll be something like January 10th, 2021, and we essentially saw it as a kind of a 2-month opportunity. And then we'll get feedback. We really want to know if this is how it's working, what you would like. The only reason to only have the chats and the virtual convening go longer is to not put a kind of a collective burden on the community if it's not working as well as we think it will. We really want this to be something of value. We want to be able to step back and assess how we need to, especially rolling into the 2021 papers, and acceptances go out for the 2021 papers November 1?
October 30th.
October 30th. And so that's a period where with the beginning of the new year, new calendar year, authors can begin creating their presentations. That will be the mode of presentation. Even when we have synchronous symposia, or if we should have synchronous paper sessions, we'll no longer be doing cardboard posters, handouts, or PowerPoint, because this offers so much more. And you will obviously, if you're in a symposia, you won't narrate instead of talk. You'll actually be speaking if it's a live session. And then what you then have the opportunity to do after the annual meeting is to go back and narrate as you might like. And then you're in, virtual space as part of our collective community of collaborating throughout the year.
So Felice, we've had a couple questions related to who will AERA give access to to the gallery to create posters beyond the 2020 authors?
So this will be for, this is a opportunity that we're offering to all accepted papers in 2021. And I will say that we also, some of you may know that AERA is establishing a data hub for all forms of data in collaboration with ICPSR around research on education and learning, with a particular emphasis on STEM education, but not an exclusive emphasis. And we also want to use that environment as a way of networking and connecting persons around data, around topics, around multiple methodologies and modalities. And participants in that hub will also be essentially presenting themselves and their work, their programs of research in that environment. As we envision the out years for the other kinds of convening AERA does, like, for example, our research conference for dissertation and early career awardees, typically held in November. Instead of creating a PowerPoint and a paper, they will create an interactive poster, and those will be also in the gallery as we roll it out. But I would say over the next 12 months, the emphasis will be on 2020 papers, 2021 accepted papers, and creating a community of conversation around that. But the vision, if this works in the way that we hope will be satisfying and important to the research community, is much more expansive and holistic than that. It will be open access to the user, but the presenters will, for the annual meeting, will of course need to be persons who've registered and presented at the annual meeting.
Yeah, and Felice, we had a question about whether AERA would consider eventually opening up the platform to the wider community, for instance, as a teaching tool for graduate students.
I think in one regard it is open, meaning from the user perspective, the materials would be accessible. I could well see this as something we need to think about with respect to its relationship between our virtual research learning centers. So you're raising a very good question about whoever raised that, so email me if I don't catch who it was. Keep in mind that we've been offering courses over the years and really ramped up that through our professional development program, and I've offered 9 courses. I think the last one is literally going on as we speak, and I've had over 5,000 registrants. And that too has all kinds of aids and material and PowerPoints that anyone who registers for those courses can go in multiple times. So I think it's a very good question about, that's why I mentioned the hub. We've thought about the hub because that is an educative platform. And that educative platform has 3 dimensions. One is connecting through data. One is community building and networking across arenas of inquiry. And the third stool of this hub is capacity building and development. And that I shouldn't say obviously, it's obvious to us in thinking about it. That certainly means an educative and a robust educative program. It all can happen instantly, but it's, you know, it's really, I should say that we are so excited about the inventive opportunities of how this can make for much more synchronous interaction across not only the communities that we know, but also the communities that we don't know who are doing really important work. You know, this isn't about AERA membership. This is really about the field and the transformation of this field to continue to be at the leading edge in both advancing knowledge and importantly, contributing to policy and practices.
This may have been addressed earlier, but we do have a question about how much time will be provided for live sessions when the gallery opens.
2 months is what we were thinking. I mean, we had been thinking the end of the calendar year. It's going to open November 2nd. It's open forever. But we were thinking of only asking, really with this kind of an ask, because we're asking those who have created interactive presentations and have done asynchronous narrations to also participate in the synchronous component. So we don't want to offer it and not and be so open-ended that people won't buy into doing it. So we thought the 2-month run, having had no existence proofs of how it might be used, would be a good initial run. If that looks like there's more demand and more interest, I think, as Rick would say to us, there's no technological reason to cut it off. We just want to be sure that we don't produce fatigue, and thus have very important to me, for example, about making accessible various forms of data. While we want to create communities and hubs to connect to those data, we don't want to create data warehouses. We want to create lively places of information, of resources that are relevant for use. So I think it's the trying to experiment and seeing whether the 2-month run is a kind of a good opportunity. And next calendar year, that 2021, would essentially, there'd be a period of time for the narration after the traditional annual meeting. So people would go in, be able to narrate and complete their product. Maybe that would be a month, just as we give time for people to upload their final paper for the online paper repository. That might run until, I don't know, let's say June 15th. And then we do 2 months again. If there seems to be from our kind of feedback from our authors and from users that they'd like a longer run, why not? But we don't want to be excessive in a way that that kind of offers something that falls out of use and kind of just becomes less attractive than we hope. But the alignment is somehow, when we give papers at a meeting like AERA, that is part, the paper is a product. It has findings, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, but it's part of the versioning production process. And the opportunity of interacting with colleagues, those who couldn't come to your session, those who were at other sessions, whether virtual or not, and continuing that conversation in a way that will help you bring your work to the next stages, and also to connect, we use the term, I think in the email, with your collaborative community. Well, that doesn't mean literally collaborations, but we've experienced when we've essentially created various forms of working groups together. It is amazing how many collaborations it actually spawns just by virtue of sharing perspectives, theories, methodologies, and that's what we're all about as a field. And if AERA can help make that happen, we must.
We've addressed, it appears that we've addressed all the questions we've had.
All right. Well, that's really good, because we still have a nice body of colleagues online with us. I would just really like to thank everyone for coming. Spread the word. Don't hesitate about joining in and kind of taking the collective plunge. This can only work if we do this together. If we wondered about how important it is to share knowledge, to make sure that that the enterprise that we're engaged in that has something to say that's meaningful, that has content that can be used, can be taken into consideration, and that has value, is accessible and collectively shared and enhanced. And so we hope this seminar has been of value. I want to thank, of course, Robert, who in the front stage as well as the backstage is a true collaborator in making this happen. If we didn't intersect with Rick, this would have been impossible to invent. If we didn't have Krabowski at each of our sessions and her colleague, we would not be able to communicate across the various ranges and the closed captioning, the ranges of abilities that are near and dear and central to our field. And Tony, while today you were the voice behind the scenes as our communications director, you helped make it all happen. So thanks everyone. Please spread the word. If you're on social media or active in a SIG or a division or another association, that while this product will be available as a recording, we welcome everyone coming next week and joining with us. And thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
And thanks, Rick, for staying up.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Week.
It was a pleasure. Look forward to working with you all.